couple days, well, hardly even a couple days to dissect Wednesday's game. Are you feeling better about it, feeling worse about it, the way it turned out?
I don't think a defeat gets any better. I think it gives us an opportunity to think about some of the things that went on in the game. Certainly from every performance, you need to be learning and developing the group. And, there's certainly things that when specific circumstances arise, we've not quite got the right answers for at the moment. I mean, but one of the biggest things for me, and I think for the group is, we're all the same here. We're all one. Is when we concede a goal, is getting ourselves back on, in positive territory, and then going on to win a game. And at some point, I think, we all have to prove that there's that in the group.
Mm-hmm. Were there lessons that you took out of getting a look at the film that you can take into Swope, or is it just a completely different challenge?
Again, I think there's things that come out of it that we need to be a little bit more mindful of at home. I do honestly think that the group out there had been in good form. We'd seen some excellent play. We even have, the right personnel to adapt that shape and be more aggressive. I just think on the night, for whatever reason, and sometimes with players you find that they're a tad subdued, not as sprightly, as intense as we needed to be. And I don't just mean in terms of the amount of ground that people are covering, because there's never ever been a question mark over the determination or workload of this group, and I doubt there ever will be. But there are moments where you need to have a change of pace. There's got to be an infusion of intensity, attacking and defensively. And when you think about it, we've been done on a dead ball again. Other than that, we may well have looked at it and gone, okay, we've had a couple of decent sights to goal, not many, so we'd have been concerned about the lack of opportunity. But against the Tampa side that look like they're going to be a very difficult side to play against. Neil's got them extremely well organised, and they've got a nice format about them. They play well to their strengths. So I wasn't ever expecting many efforts at goal or clear sights at goal. We're looking back at a very similar scenario to the St. Louis game. So we certainly have to be, we have to take that on board and be more mindful of how the game unfolds.
What are some of the things that you've seen are the primary characteristics of Swope looking forward to tomorrow's game?
Well, they've had a lot of players move in and out of that group. As with a lot of the two teams, you tend to see a good turnover of players. I think we're running into a group that are affected maybe by the first team a little bit. They've got a lot of injuries at the top end, and I think that's dragged certain players out of that group. So honestly, I haven't a clue what players will play in the game, but again, what we know is that they're a very similar setup, and they're looking at the developmental tools for the sporting group. There'll be some very efficient technicians. There'll be a lot of energy. There'll be I guess a fearless approach, which there always is with these younger groups. But it's for us to take advantage of that, because what they do lack is a bit of experience.
Is there something to be gained by having former players of Swope, Lebo and all of them, and even maybe Mike Jacobs, that kind of have a familiarity with what they want to do, or is that something that doesn't really come into play?
I think it helps a little bit, but on any given day, an individual can set the game alight and be the difference. And I don't think there's any way of telling who that might be or when that might be. It certainly helps with structure and maybe philosophy, but when you don't know who's playing, that's all you've got to work on. So I've got to be perfectly honest, there's always a certain amount of respect for the teams that are coming in. I think you have to when you've got talented young players who are capable of doing something very different. But this game really has to be about how we attack it, how we respond. an improvement in certain areas of the field, and by that I mean certainly in the attacking area of the field. We need an upgrade on opportunities and a forceful nature about our approach to the game, and that's got nothing to do with Swope. That's all about us.
You guys announced the signing of Derrick Jones last night. What are you excited for in adding him to your squad for this season, and then of course obviously going into the MLS?
Well, I think part of the statement that went out from me as part of that said that Derrick's an incredibly talented young player. So a big part of it is, we'll have an opportunity here to be around Derrick for a good period of time. In terms of characteristics, I think he's quite a unique player. At 6'3", 6'4", he's a big frame, but I think that takes away a bit of focus on some of his other very good qualities. He's a good technician. He's actually very efficient on the ball and running with the ball. I'm not talking about taking players on, but driving at defenders or through, breaking lines in possession. And he also has a terrific athletic capacity. Now, if you look at what the modern game's about in the midfield area, it's a really competitive world. He really does tick all the boxes. The things that I've seen in Derrick, and I haven't been around him enough, of course, I've watched a lot of him, but I would say that experience in that world, in that central midfield world, is also a vital commodity to keep making adjustments and to be improving as a player. And experience, I mean, when am I going to drive and break lines? When do I just keep the ball? When does my appreciation and athleticism of getting beyond my opponent or into the attacking third? I mean, all those things are more about choices than about your physical capacity. And the very best players make good choices more often than not. So, he's still a young player, he's still learning, he's still developing, but there's so much to be excited about in this young player.
He's obviously not out here yet. Do you have an idea of when you'll be able to get him into the squad at all?
Derrick comes into town on Sunday, and my hope is that we can get him acclimated as quickly as we can. So he should be out on the field Monday, but as with a lot of players, you find there's a relocation process, and given that Derrick's a long-term plan for the club, I'd love to have him involved as quickly as possible, but if it takes a short window of time to just get him settled in and feeling comfortable in his surroundings, then so be it.
Kind of along the same lines, adding another midfield player, adding a little bit more midfield depth. At this point in the year, we are hitting the stretch where you guys have so many games back to back to back. How's the squad reacting, and how do you handle kind of rotating some of these players maybe to keep some of them fresh and not tired out?
Well, you've seen already there have been a sprinkling of rotated players, and I may have said before, I hope, it started on Wednesday. I hope the fruits of players being sharp, engaged, focused. They've been in and around the group. They might not have been regularly in the group, but they've been playing, so they haven't lost a lot of match fitness. I hope this is the time at which we see the benefits of that, and we're constantly bringing in results, because that's the only reason you rotate players, to find results, to win games, and to keep a confident feel about everyone. So the best team to win the game will go out tomorrow, as always, but that certainly has to have a thought attached to it with regards to energy, sharpness, and the health of the players.